The lads have described it to me that the Kim Muir is like a floated ball to the back post, and all Smoking Gun has to do is just flick the ball into the back of the net.
Welcome back to the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel in association with Racing TV. I'm Joshua Stacey and I'm joined by Andrew Blair White as we preview the Thursday of the Cheltenham Festival, Paddy's Day. It's going to be a very, very good one. And hopefully by this point we've picked a few winners as well, and we're keeping the momentum high rolling into the Thursday and trying to finish the week strong as well. As ever, these aren't our final selections. Final selections will be over on Twitter, but these are as close to them as possible. But do go and follow us on Twitter if you want to know our final selections. Plenty can change between now and then. Andrew, let's get straight into it. The first race is the Turners, and it looks to me like this almost could be a match in Galopin de Champs and Bob Olinger. The only two other horses that I think could run, with Gabi and Allaho being supplemented for the Arkle and Lahon Press going up in trip, are El Barra and Presenting and Counting, who's probably going to go for the plate, the handicap. There literally could be three runners in this race: Galopin de Champs and Bob Olinger. They both pretty much look certain to run here now. Who wins?
Yeah, very tough one. It's going to be very interesting, even tactically, with only three runners, potentially even. Like there's not a forlorn hope that it could be just the two of them, which would be absolutely outrageous. But I would say Galopin de Champs will go out in front. Bob will sit, and if there is a third runner, an El Barra, Present and Counting or something like that, they'll just sit in and hope that something happens in front of them, a little bit like what happened in the Gin Online My Drogo race, and something might happen. I know where you're going to be. You've made yourself pretty clear over the last couple of videos where you're going to be. I'm going to take you on. I'm going to stay with Galopin de Champs. I've been humming and hawing. I could easily be sitting on the fence because I do like the two horses. I see Bob being a class horse. I think he's got every chance. If he won, I wouldn't be surprised. But you've got to put your neck out, and I'm going to go with Galopin de Champs. I think he's been super at Leopardstown. He was very good last year. He's been very progressive. And there's a part of me that goes, why are they running in this race if they don't really believe they can win it? And that's a decent enough steer for me. It's 5-4 even money, the two of them. So there's not much in terms of betting that's in it. I'm not saying either of them are that great a price. But for me, pushed against the wall, life depends on it, just Galopin de Champs.
Life depends on it, you pick Galopin de Champs. Cool. I'd definitely be with Bob Olinger. I think he'll have too much pace. And you mentioned that they wouldn't run Galopin de Champs here if they didn't think he had a chance. And clearly he's a seriously talented horse, and he has every chance in the world of beating Bob Olinger over 2.5 miles here. But I don't understand why they are running here. It might be a bit of pocket talk. I just don't understand it. Willie Mullins, after the race at Leopardstown at the Dublin Racing Festival over an extended 2 miles and 5 furlongs, said that it could just be on the sharp side for him and maybe they went a bit too quick. Why on earth would you drop him effectively 1.5 furlongs, taking on a quicker horse in Bob Olinger, who people have crabbed his jumping? And I don't think it's all that bad. I went back and watched that Punchestown run, and I don't think he made one bad mistake at all. I thought he was jumping was pretty good on the whole, actually. And Galopin de Champs, as much as he was very, very good jumping-wise at Leopardstown on his first start over Christmas, second time he was getting it a few, he was brave. So neither of them are absolutely perfect. The drier the ground, the more it'll suit Bob Olinger. Galopin de Champs is going to have to go out like Allaho from the front, not miss a beat, jump everything, ping, ping, ping. And if he does that, then he's going to be bang there with a chance. But I think if these two horses are alongside each other at the bottom of the hill, I can only see one horse getting up it quicker, and that's Bob Olinger for me. So 6-5, shades of odds against, I think that's pretty fair, and Bob Olinger would be one of my strong fancies of the day to beat Galopin de Champs. And put it this way, if Galopin de Champs isn't going to run in the 3-mile race, I want to see him pumped by Bob Olinger in this 20 lengths demolition job. Now we have the Pertemps Handicap Hurdle, and my bets have taken a bit of a hit here because in the last video before these 3 festival day-by-day videos, we were talking about the handicaps, and the two that I liked in the Pertemps were Tullybeg at 20-1 each way and Winter Fog. I think he was currently 16-1 at the time. Kevin Blake decided to take the plunge, and he's now 6-1 favourite. So the juice has been sucked out of him. I do still like him, but 6-1's skinny enough. I saw Gavin Lynch put him up as well, so that price is just going to evaporate. Tullybeg's 14-1. I still think there's a bit of juice in that, and I thought His qualifying run at the Cheltenham October meeting was very eye-catching in 5th. He travelled supremely well. I wouldn't say he was as fit enough to win that day, and they'd have loved him to finish down the field, but still qualify, and that's what happened. I think he's going to have a good rider on board, and Tullibeg can go close, but Winterfog plunging to 6-1 with Kevin Blake and Gavin Lynch tipping him up. There's a bit of confidence behind him.
Yeah, there is, and coming from the connections of Emmett Mullins and Paul Byrne, you have to take note. Obviously, personally speaking, I haven't been on the fancy prices, and it's very hard to go and justify backing a horse at 5-6-1 for the Pertemps, so I'm willing to let him be. I've got a short list of 3 in this race, one of them being Tullibeg. I know you've been sweet on him. I've kind of come with you on that bandwagon. I think he's got a decent chance. Also Falcano, a horse I've been keen on for this race for a while now. I think this is going to be the race he runs in. I think they'll run the two of them, the Morans, against each other. He's off a low weight. He snuck into 6th in a Pertemps qualifier. He's been put away for a while. I think he's a nice chance. And one that sprung into my mind over the last week or so is Born Patriot for Peter Fahey. I think he's got a really nice profile. He actually qualified in the exact same run as Tullibeg back in October time. He came 2nd in that race, so he shows an aptitude for going at the track. He was disappointing at Sandown the last day, but I think he's better than that. A bit of nicer ground will suit, and Peter Fahey, as we saw with Belfast Banter last year, can get one of these handicap hurdlers ready. So Born Patriot, I think he's 20-1, and Falcano 12-1. They'd probably be my main 2, but I also have back Tullibeg, so he's probably my saver of the 3.
Interesting, and I also know that Mars Harper is qualified for this. I think he's going to run in the Martin Pipe. The Ryanair then comes up next, and Allaho is 8-11. It's not a fancy price, but I just think he wins. Do you?
Yeah, I do. Probably not a race I'll have a play in, just watch it and hope Allaho wins.
I think I'd back Janadil out of the rest to maybe finish 2nd to him. I think he's currently 12-14-1 each way. Wouldn't be the best bet in the world. It's going to be a small field, but Allaho is in a league of his own. Maybe the only angle would be on Voralen if he was back to his brilliant best, but he's not going to be, and he's probably going to run the Champion Chasers. The next race then is the Stayers Hurdle. It's the feature of the day, and it's the race of the nutters, isn't it? You've got Flooring Porter, Classical Dream, Time Hill, who's been in and out, Champ, Paisley Park, and then Sporting John in there as well. A few others at bigger prices. Is it not just a case of which nutter decides to put his best foot forward on the day?
Yeah, exactly. I think you could make a case for all 5 of these at the top of the market, if they were at their brilliant best, could win this race. It's very hard to know who's going to be at their brilliant best and what way the race is going to pan out. I think it's very much dependent on the start for Flooring Porter, a horse I've put up at a bigger price in the Anti-Post series, and I'm still keen on him. I think if he gets his way out in front, even if he's hassled, but he's out in front, I think that's fine. It's just if he's in behind horses, I'd be a little bit dubious whether he's got the resolution and kind of the willpower to go by horses, because he does hang and he doesn't really allow himself to do so. But he's a very good horse, and we saw that in the race last year. No better man than Danny Mullins on these front runners as well. So you've got the right man on board to go and dictate if he can get out in front, and if he does so, I don't see anything really going by him. I would say probably out of the 5, the most solid to run his race is Time Hill, but at the same stage, I think even at his best, he's probably vulnerable to one of the other 4 at their best, if he managed to kind of bump into one. That being said, if you were to tell me one of these 5 has to finish in the 3, it would be Time Hill, because I just think he'll pop round, run his usual solid race and be in the frame.
With Flooring Porter, I think if he doesn't get in lead, he's beaten. I think that is an absolute necessity for him. I'm going to stick with Champ. I've been warming him all year, put him up in the Anti-Post series. He's now 5-1. The last run in the Cleve Hurdle, I think Nicky Henderson left a lot of work to do with him, and he was carrying a good bit of condition. I expect a much better Champ. He's been working the house down, apparently. Every single time he goes to the Cheltenham Festival, barring the Gold Cup, or every single time he runs, he always runs well. And the second behind Paisley Park, I couldn't really get my head around it. I'm hoping it was just a case of Nicky Henderson left a bit too much work to do with him and maybe underestimated the opposition in Paisley Park, and that was an incredible run. I couldn't believe that he gave away 15 lengths and still got the job done. If he was to do that but jump off with them, he'd be bang there. You couldn't rule it out. The next race is the 2 miles and 5 furlong plate, the Paddy Power Plate Handicap Chase, and this is very open. I didn't really have a massive say on this race a week ago, I must admit. Didn't really like anything, but I come round to Foozle Raffles off 149. Think he could be potentially £5-6 better than that. and I don't think you're going to have to be a superstar to win this race. He obviously finished second to Chantry House in the JLT last year, or the Marsh, and 14 to 1 each way. I think I'd go with him.
Yeah, it's a race that really doesn't inspire me much at all. I usually love the Plate, but I just can't really get my head around it this year. I made a case when we were on with the Jumps Show guys on Monday for Embittered going maybe up in trip for Joseph O'Brien, but I've seen since that Frank Hickey's made a very compelling case for him back in the Grand Annual this year, so it's going to be interesting to see. I think the horse is crying out for a step up in trip, but whether he gets that or not, I'm not sure. He's 20 to 1, non-runner, no bet. I think that's fair, because if he does go in the race, he'll be a lot shorter. But the one that probably will run, and I've come round to maybe giving a chance at 9 to 1, is the Glancing Queen. She's a very reliable mare. She loves Cheltenham. She's off a mark of 141, second behind Lahon Press the last day. It probably wouldn't be one of my most inspired selections of all time, but it's not an inspiring race. And I can't have the favourite at all, Celebre D'Alain. I can't have Imperial Alcazar at all, of 153. And, as I say, probably not one of my most inspired. I'd be more keen on Embittered if he ran, but I probably will have a few quid on the Glancing Queen each way.
The Mares Novice Hurdle is up next. This is fairly open now. Allegory Devassi doesn't run. She picked up a setback. The Betfair markets told you that a couple of days in advance, and it's very, very strange how that comes about, and it shouldn't happen. But the runners that we do have here, what do you fancy?
Well, I put up Brandy Love at 25s earlier on in the season. I know that looks gross after time and now, but look, she goes there with a chance. She's a mare that obviously has all the ability in the world, but she is a little bit of a head case, and we saw that at Fairyhouse the last day, and she does like to be ridden prominently, which doesn't necessarily suit in this race. She's 10 to 3. I think that's fair. I think there's been too much of a plunge almost on this Dino Blue at this stage. She's kind of come in for an awful lot of market support. She's probably a shade short now at around 2 to 1. Look, and I know you quite like one at a price, and I wouldn't put anyone off that mare that I'll leave you to discuss. But my big one would be Brandy Love, but I will probably on your wise guidance, because you did mention her at the start of the season, have a few nickels on your one at a big price.
That one is Heia, Heia. I always have to say that because I can never pronounce it, and I've not gone back to the run. I'm quite lazy, and I've not gone back and seen how the commentator pronounced her name. She's 22 to 1. If you're going to have a couple of pennies on her, back a non-runner, no bet, because I can't really work out why she is that price. She was disappointing on her first start of a Willie, but really impressive on a second. At the start of the season, Connection pinpointed this race for her. You've got to respect every single Willie Mullins runner in a race like this, because any of them could win. Eglantine de Soy proved that at 33 to 1 that time under Noel Feely. So I think she goes with a big chance at 22 to 1 each way. And then I also like Gronji as well. I thought she was running a massive race when she fell last time out, when Allegory Devassi won and Brandy Love was all over the shop. She seems fairly straightforward. I think if she has a good round of jumping, she'll be bang there. She's obviously got good Cheltenham form at 8 to 1. Now, it's time for the Kim Muir. And I'm going to let you take away with the case, because I also like the horse. You've convinced me. Just let me know who's going to win the Kim Muir.
Yeah, well, it's Smoking Gun. I'll set you the scene here. It was day one of the Dublin Racing Festival, and had a decent enough day. I was going out with a few friends, and we were talking. I was just chewing their ear off about Gallant John Joe the following day in the Handicap, and they tell me that they know the owners of Smoking Gun, and that the plan's been the Kim Muir, and I kind of waved it off at the time, and they were trying to convince me, and I ended up having a look at the race afterwards and had to look at the horse. He won the Porterstown. He then had a very quiet ride in the Thyestes when he jumped super and was pulled up without any sort of effort, and then came third at Fairyhouse behind full-time score and Discorama, which looks good form in the book. The lads have described it to me that the Kim Muir is like a floated ball to the back post, and all Smoking Gun has to do is just flick the ball into the back of the net. Now that may be easier said than done. Look, we've all backed it at a decent enough price. I hope some people have in the anti-post video, because he was 25s, I think. He's now 8 to 1. Cods on him, which is gold dust behaviour. He's off 140. Frontal Assault could be very well handicapped, fair enough. I do understand that, and he's obviously taken £7 off his back. But I'd take him on at the prices. Smoking Gun at 8 to 1. If I was to have a saver in the race, I'd have a few quid non-runner no bet on Champagne Platinum. I think he could run a big race. I'd say Derek O'Connor would ride him. He's 14 to 1 if I was to have a saver. But it's all in on Smoking Gun, and hopefully it's a back post header.
What a description. You're just hoping you're a Harry Kane at the back post, nods it in. Or a Danny Ings or an Ollie Watkins back post from a Coutinho cross. I'm not going to add too much to that. I quite like Smoking Gun as well. What I would say is Frontal Assault is very much Gordon Elliott's first string, and I think Gordon thinks he's going to take a heck of beating, and he's 11-2. I'm probably going to back them both. If Frontal Assault doesn't go off 3-1, I might have a couple of pennies on him, a bit of a saver, but my main fancy would be Smoking Gun. I also like the case. You convinced me, and I think he will go there very well. And it is interesting, Rob James claiming 7 off Frontal Assault, and Jamie Codd not claiming anything on Smoking Gun. What would you rather? I think I'd rather Codd on my horse, purely because he can just lift horses over the line when you really need them. That is the Thursday done and dusted. We do hope you've enjoyed this video. If you do, please hit that like button. Get your 7 selections for the Thursday down below in the comments. We've really enjoyed all of the comments on the recent videos, and we've enjoyed looking at your selections, and hopefully, well, what looks like plenty of winners in there, and there's a few similar as well, so hopefully there is plenty of winners there. So do get your comments down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll see you soon.